So in today's video, we're going to rank every Premier League club's their attacking options going into next season. I'm going to go based off probably what they have now rather than transfer rumours, unless we know that that transfer is probably going to happen. But we've got the bottom tier, which is going to be the bottom three, which is relegation level. We've got the top tier, which is the top three. Above the bottom tier, I've got looking weak. And then above that, I've got a lax depth. It might not be a bad attack, but because this team might be in Europe next season, they probably want more options for depth. For example, I think Aston Villa have phenomenal players in Morgan Rogers and an Ollie Watkins, and a McGinn is a solid player as well. And Marlon showed glimpses, and Jacob Ramsey's decent, but with Rashford and Asensio gone, with obviously Leon Bailey dropping off, I might put someone like a Villa in it lacks depth because they will be in Europe next season. You've got solid players that I think are absolutely solid players. One key player away, where I think their attack is good, but they're not in the top three because they'd need one top-level signing to maybe make the top three, and who I think has the three best attacks in the league. So we'll start from bottom to top. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you disagree with me. It's obviously hard to judge because when teams have brought in new players, it's almost, will this new player hit the ground running? Can they do it in the Premier League? Like for example, I think Sunderland have a very good attack and have done some very good business, but they're young. Can they translate it to the Premier League? Someone might look at Sunderland and go, you know what, that is a solid attack. For what Sunderland want, it could be one key player away, but actually, do we know that for sure? Do you know what I mean? So anyway, for me, the worst attack in the Premier League, I'm not saying this because I'm a Man United fan, I think it's Leeds. I mean, is Bamford still there? I mean, you've got Daniel James, you've got Notto, I think Leeds need to bring in another good attacker. I think they've got Aronson, Notto, Perot, Metcher, Dan James. Maybe it's better than Burnley, but with Burnley, they've brought in, again, I don't know how Marcus Edwards will do, but Burnley have brought in Marcus Edwards. I think he's a good player, he's a good dribbler, he's good 1v1. Obviously, Man United bias, but I like Hannibal Mejbri. Josh Brownhill got 18 goals last season for Burnley, but can he do it in the Premier League? He wasn't good in the Premier League before. I'm going to put Burnley in there. So that might sound basic, but I'm actually going to put Brentford in. And obviously Visser hasn't left yet, but Visser is on strike or something like that. He's expected to go. And when more than 50% of their goals came from either Mbeumo or Visser being involved, that's a massive loss. I think Brentford are a smart team, and I think they will probably replace Mbeumo and Visser very well. They looked at obviously Amari Hutchinson. I think Shard is good. I think Damsgaard is a very good underrated player. I think Igor Thiago could have a very good season. I think Brentford are always good with their sort of striker talent idea. I think Carvalho, Igor Thiago could show a lot this season. I think Brentford are better than people think they are. People think, okay, Thomas Frank, Visser and Mbeumo gone, they're screwed. But I do think Brentford are better than people think they are. But with Visser and Mbeumo playing such a big part in their goals, it's one of those. Anthony Malambo, new player coming in, looks like he could be a good option coming in. But again, I think for now, I can't put Brentford much higher. Going into the looking week, I'm going to go West Ham because for me, this is the Jared Bowen show. Jared Bowen is a top player. But outside of Jared Bowen, there's not a player in West Ham's attack right now that I'm fully convinced by. But I'm sure they will do some transfer business. Because to be brutally honest, Callum Wilson was atrocious last season. He was. Nicholas Füllkrug, I just didn't really understand why you signed him. Luis Guilherme, young player, maybe got a bit to show. But it's just one of those where I think Somerville, there's a good player there. I think obviously Paquetá is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but Paquetá wasn't great last season. His numbers weren't great. For me, it's just Bowen, and yeah. I honestly think Sunderland, if you took out Bowen, you could, they have their beer. If you took out Jared Bowen, they would be right back at the bottom. Jared Bowen is the reason Jared Bowen is better than Jared Bowen is the reason they are there. I'm then going to go, I think, with Wolves. Obviously, they lost Cunha. Now, I think John Arias, that is coming to replace Cunha, is going to be good. But again, how will he do in the Premier League? How will he adapt to the Premier League? All of that kind of thing. I think there's a good player in John Arias. Obviously, Strand Larson, did he get 14 goals in the league last season or 16 goals? I can't remember. Strand Larson got a nice amount of goals. Newcastle are looking at him. Strand Larson is good. John Arias is good. Guedes is all right. Bellegarde, I think he started well but dropped off a bit. Lopez, Huang Hee-chan, who I've always quite liked. You could argue Wolves could be higher, but I think with just Mateus Cunha going, I think I would leave Wolves there, being totally honest. But I think that Wolves, I think John Arias is going to be good. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to succeed. But it is one of those where I think Wolves will finish around 15th, 16th, 15th attack is probably fair. And then I'm going to go with Sunderland. Now, for Sunderland fans, they may feel that like they're solid because they've done some really good business. Enzo Lefebvre, I'm going to count as an attacking-minded player, could be playing at a higher level than Sunderland. I think they've done some unbelievable business, but it's very young. How will it translate to the Premier League? Like, I think, Mark Gui, a really good option coming in on loan. Isidore, I think Andriga from Brighton will be a good signing. Chris Rigger's a good young player. Patrick Watson's, Lefebvre, Talby, if that's how you say his name. I think they've got really good options there. And I look at Sunderland and I think their attack is really good. I think it's their defence that lacks. But again, I'm not expecting Sunderland to finish 9th. I expect Sunderland to maybe do something good and finish 15th, which would be a really good season. But I'm not expecting them to finish 9th, 10th. But I think they have an attack that's better than the other teams that have come up. They've done good business. So yeah, I'd probably put Sunderland in here, to be honest, in the sort of looking weak section, because I just feel I don't know how they're going to do in the Premier League. I think they've got I think you could put them in solid, because if you're looking at what Sunderland have done for a club that's coming up into the Premier League, it's really good business, and Sunderland will be really happy with that attack. But it's obviously just not better than any of the other teams' attacks that I haven't mentioned yet. Because the next team I'm going to mention is Palace, and it's not better than Palace. They've got Eze, they've got Mateta, they've got Sarr. Like, I put Palace here. Now, this doesn't mean that some of the teams I'm above and that I'm going to name later necessarily I think is better than Palace if we're looking at best front three. I think Sarr, Eze, Mateta front three is one of the best in the league. But they might lose Eze. As of now, he is staying, but they probably could lose him. I think Palace have a very good attack when you're looking at Sarr, when you're looking at Mateta, when you're looking at Eze. But they're in Europe next season. They don't have depth. Kamada didn't do enough for me. Esse is just a very young player, and Ketia did not step up at all last season, wasn't good enough. They lack depth. I think we could all agree on that. If you're in Europe next season, they lack depth. And another club that I think have a very good attack, but they lack depth, is Aston Villa. I think, Morgan Rogers is arguably an £80 million player. Ollie Watkins is a fantastic player. Marlon, I think, could be good. I think the signing they made is it Gesand? Is that how you say his name? I think he will be a really good signing. But Rashford and Asensio have gone. Liam Bailey's fallen off. I think just being in Europe, they might want maybe another winger. I look at it, I go, they might want a winger in there, to be honest. And then the last team I've put in lacks depth. And I was just sort of thinking about this. I think it's Tottenham. And I feel like it's just more that Maddison and Kulusevski are injured. Like, I think if Maddison and Kulusevski and Solanke were guaranteed to stay fit with Kudus, that's a good attack, because you could have Kudus on the right, Kulusevski in the middle, Maddison slightly on the left, and Solanke up top. You've got Odebear in there. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Odebear's going to have a good season. I think Tell, if you put him on the left, there's potential there. Kudus is looking great. Maddison and Kulusevski are going to miss most of the season. I think Solanke's better than he gets credit for. But we look at Tottenham now, Richarlison. Like, I was watching Tottenham versus Bayern. I've watched Tottenham's pre-season. They scored a fair amount of goals last season, and Kudus is a great signing. If Tottenham had Morgan Gibbs-White, I'd put them here. I think, because my biggest issue with Tottenham's depth is probably the 10 because of Maddison and Kulusevski being injured. But they probably need a reliable backup to Solanke. Odebear could be your best left winger. Kudus can be your best right winger. If Kulusevski was fit, he'd be your 10. And if Solanke was fit, he'd be your striker. But they don't have depth, and they're in the Champions League. So for me, I think the Tottenham have some good individual players, but it is really lacking depth. I think they need 2 attacking additions. I think they should go for Visser, and I think they should find a Morgan Gibbs-White alternative. So now we're going into the solid category. And with players in solid, there'll be teams like Fulham. And I don't necessarily think that Fulham, if you're going best front three and everybody's fit, have a better front three than Villa when everybody's fit. They don't. Palace, Villa, and Tottenham will have a better front three when everybody's fit than Fulham. They'll have a better front three than probably Forest when everybody's fit, or front four. But I'm looking at depth, I'm looking at collective, I'm looking at everything. And I think Fulham is going to be next on my list because I think Fulham have good depth. They've got Raul Jimenez and Muniz as striker options. So they've got two very solid strikers. Muniz actually got the best non-penalty goal ratio per 90 in the league last season. Raul Jimenez was reliable. You know, Traore's been good. Smith Rowe showed, good glimpses. Like, Fulham have some pretty, for me, decent options. Wilson, Iwobi, Sessegnon, Pereira. It's not a bad attack. So I've gone with Fulham, who I don't necessarily think have a better attack than Villa. But I think if we're looking at depth and the fact that Villa is in Europe, that's why Fulham's there. Same with Forest. I think if Forest had not got Gibbs White, I would have put Forest here had they not managed to keep Gibbs White. I mean, how they did that, the Mr. Marinakis video, who knows? But I think Odoi coming in is a good signing. Morgan Gibbs-White is a very good player. Chris Wood is a very good player. And Callum Hudson-Odoi is a very good player. You could argue depth with Jesus, Jota, Silva. What can they do? What can they produce? Maybe with them being in Europe, we put them here. Maybe we put Forest in here with them being in Europe. Their defence is what did them well last year, and they've lost Elanga. Their defence was a key part. Maybe I'm going to put them in lap depth because they're in Europe. Like, I don't necessarily think that Fulham have a better attack than the teams below them here, and it lacks depth. But I think Fulham aren't in Europe, and they've probably got better depth there. Like, Raul Jimenez or Muniz would for me probably be better than Richarlison or Nketiah, who are Palace and Tottenham's depth options. So I'd probably put Fulham there, actually. Going into Bournemouth. Bournemouth have been raided in defence. They've lost 3 of their best back 4. But Bournemouth, for me, are looking very good in attack. Ouattara's a really good option for depth. Evan Nilsson's a good player. But Semenyo and Kluivert are the big ones. Semenyo and Kluivert are staying. They are the big ones. They've also got players like Brooks, Tavernier. So I think Bournemouth are very, very solid. And Matt, I can't believe I'm saying this, because if I'd have said this a year ago, they would have been in relegation. If I'd have said this a year ago, Everton would have been in relegation. And on paper, Everton don't have a better attack than Villa, than Palace, than Tottenham, than Forest. They don't. But we're looking at the depth, what they might do. Everton have done some good business. So right now, they've obviously got Barry in the door, which I think will be a good signing. I think Barry will be a really good bit of business for Everton. They've got McNeil, that's a good player. They've got Njai. Njai's a really good player. So, those 3 players are already good. Alcaraz is there. Drewsbury Hall has come in. So they've got Drewsbury Hall, Barry that's come in. They've got Njai and McNeil. They're looking at Malik Fofana. They're looking at Tyler Dibling, and they're looking at Jack Grealish. If they get Malik Fofana, they will have Drewsbury Hall, Malik Fofana, Njai, McNeil, Barry, and Alcaraz. Which, for me, considering where they were last year in attack, I think Everton is very solid. Should I put it lacks depth above solid? Because I do feel like Villa, Palace, Tottenham, and Forest have a better attack than Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, but it just lacks depth. Should I put them above? I've just swapped it around for the sake of. But I think everyone knows what I mean. Also going in solid is my club, Manchester United. Now, I don't think I can put us any higher than solid. And the reason I don't think I can put us any higher than solid is based on the fact that we haven't seen it. We have signed 2 of the best Premier League players in Mbeumo and Cunha. And we've got Benjamin Sesko in. And we've got Bruno Fernandes, and we've got Amad Diallo. So to be honest, we could move Man United up a good category, like 1 key player away. I don't know who that key player would be, but we've got Mbeumo, Cunha, Sesko front 3, Xerxes, Amad, Bruno, Mason Mount as depth. I think Manchester United have got a very, very solid attack. Well, that's gone the wrong way around. This should be solid. What's happened here? Somehow must have changed back there. I think Man United, I'm just going to leave it like this. I think Manchester United have a very, very solid attack. Sesko and Mbeumo Cunha front 3. There's Xerxes, there's Mount, there's Ahmad, there's Bruno with depth, Toylan technically, Dorgu if you're going to count wing backs. The reason I can't put Man United any higher is just because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen if it will gel. Manchester United, like Everton, had an atrocious attack last season, but have made some very good signings, or are going to make some very good signings. I think United's attack is really good. I'm really happy about that. I think it's sorted. I think we now need to work on midfield and defence. I could put us here because you're looking Sesko, Cunha, and Bumo, three unbelievable attackers. You know, Ahmad's a good player, Bruno's a good player, Mount's a good player, Xerxes showed glimpses. There is some real goodness in United's attack. And on paper, you could argue, you know, put it 1v1 against Chelsea, Arsenal. There's a debate there if you're looking at what Mbumo did last season and what Cunha and Sesko did last season compared to these players. But I just feel it's only fair to put us in solid until we see how they do under Ruben Amorim and gel. Which brings me into the one key player away, starting with Brighton. Brighton, for me, have a really good attack. But they've lost João Pedro, and I think they will want that replacement because Kostulas, if that's how you say his name, is only 18. They've lost João Pedro and Ferguson. I think they might want an out-and-out number 9. Minter, unbelievable player. I think he'll be their next big sale next summer. I think he's going to have a big season. Rutter, I think he's going to have a big season. He showed glimpses towards the end. Matoma, we know he's very, very good. He'd start for Arsenal. He'd start for most top teams. Welbeck is a good player. You know what you get. And Gruder has a lot to show. But they definitely need probably that João Pedro replacement just for them to be set. I think they have a really good attack, Brighton. The other one that I'm going to put one key player away is Arsenal. They need a left winger. If they had Rafael Leao, it's a different question. But Martinelli, Trossard, because Havertz and Gyökeres is really good striker options. Madueke and Saka is really good right wing options. But Martinelli and Trossard, you know, Matoma would start for Arsenal. Cunha would start for Arsenal. You could argue Smith Rowe would start left wing for Arsenal. You know, Semenyo would start for Arsenal. Njai would start for Arsenal on the left wing. You know, Villa, who plays, I mean, Rashford would have if he was a left winger. Eze would start for Arsenal. I don't know if Odegaard would. Callum Hudson-Odoi would give Martinelli some competition. That's all I'm saying. Like, the left wing for me at Arsenal is where it lacks. So they need a top left winger, whether that's someone like Leao, whether that's someone like Eze. They can't be top three until they get a left winger. And that's the same with Newcastle. Now, at the time of filming this, Isak is still a Newcastle player. If Isak leaves Newcastle, they go into this category, 100%. And I know they've been rejected by everybody, Ekitike, Sesko, João Pedro. But why I'm putting Newcastle one player away is as of now they have Isak. They've got two good left wingers in Harvey Barnes and Gordon. That's two really good left wingers. They've got two really good right wingers in Elanga and Jacob Murphy. And they've got one good striker in Isak. Had they had Isak and João Pedro, let's say they brought in João Pedro, you would look at that as a very good attack. Isak and João Pedro for striker options, and João Pedro could play as a 10. You would have Harvey Barnes and Gordon as left wing options. You'd have Elanga and Murphy's right wing options. For me, they are, if Isak stays, they're a good striker away, or someone that can play as a versatile striker behind Isak or with Isak from being, you know, a madness. So yeah, which brings us into the top 3. We all know who the top 3 is. Let's look at Chelsea. Cole Palmer can play 10 and on the right. Esteval can play as a 10 on the right. Neto looked really good the back end of the season of Club World Cup, can play left wing, right wing, could even play striker. Gittins is coming in as a left winger, was a bit iffy the second half of the season at Dortmund, but a good player, a good talent. João Pedro looks unbelievable. Delap, solid. Nicholas Jackson is still there. I know people give him stick, but he's better than he gets credit for. That's just to name a few. Xavi Simons and Garnacho to come in. So they could have Garnacho and Gittins as their left wing options, Neto and Palmer as their right wing options, and Esteval as a right wing option. Esteval, Palmer, and Xavi Simons as a number 10 option. Nicholas Jackson's expected to leave, but Delap and João Pedro as striker options. Chelsea, for me, are an unbelievable attack. Going into Liverpool, Isak isn't in the door yet. So with Isak not in the door, Ekitike, Salah, Gakpo is an unbelievable front 3. It's an unbelievable front 3. Ekitike, Salah, Gakpo. Nunes is gone. Basically, here we go. Diaz is gone. Sadly, Jota isn't coming back. They lack depth. You could argue Liverpool going here. You could argue Liverpool going here, but they are going to bring in Barcola or Isak. They're going to bring in a top player. Rio Enyimoa is depth for right now, Gakpo looks baller. Salah, I assume Frimpong is the depth there. Ekatike, we need to know where the depth is at Liverpool because they've got some great players. They're looking at Isak. Will they get him? They're going to bring an attacker because they've lost three. So, yeah. And Florian Wirtz is there as a 10. Szoboszlai is there as a 10. It's not just the front three. You've got Szoboszlai, you've got Wirtz. Harvey Elliott is set to go, but he's still there. Liverpool have a top three attack in the Premier League. It may lack in depth, but they're a top three. I think City, as of now, it might change if Liverpool sign Isak, but City, as of now, have the best attack in the Premier League for me. But above Liverpool, just for depth reasons. Look, if Liverpool get Isak, Wirtz, Isak, Ekatike, Salah, Gakpo, Rio Enyimoa, yeah, Liverpool number one. But just right now, I think City have better depth. Mamouche and Haaland can play striker. Doku looked really good the back end of the season, Club World Cup. They've got Echeverry coming in. They've got Cherky Cherky. Foden, I think, will find his form as well. Bernardo Silva, I think we saw bits from Savinho as well. They've got a lot of young players. I think City, Liverpool, and Chelsea's the top three. Arsenal need a left winger. Newcastle need a striker. Brighton need a striker. United looks sorted. We've just got to see how they gel. Fulham will be happy with theirs. Bournemouth and Everton, if they get Malik Fofana or Dibbling in the door, will be happy with theirs. Villa, Palace, Tottenham and Forest all have very good attacks, but Tottenham need 2 attacking additions due to injuries. Forest may look for another attacking addition. Villa will be looking for another attacking addition, and I think Palace might want someone with a bit of depth. I don't think Sunderland is necessarily looking weak, but I don't think they're stronger than any of the teams above them. West Ham is being carried by Bowen. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Bye.